Good evening, and welcome to Third Church, New York City. Let's begin by singing hymn number 83. I'll read the first verse. God made all his creatures free. Life itself is liberty. God ordained no other bands than united hearts and hands. Hymn number 83. I'll read from the Bible and correlative passages from Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy. This week's readings were inspired by the concept of a peaceable kingdom. Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And God created great whales, and every living thing and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly, after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. And God said, Let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and beast of the earth after his kind. And it was so. And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. Psalms. The mighty God, even the Lord, hath spoken, and called the earth from the rising of the sun unto the going down thereof. Out of Zion, the perfection of beauty, God hath shined. For every beast of the forest is mine, and the cattle upon 1,000 hills. I know all the fowls of the mountains, and the wild beasts of the field are mine. Exodus. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work. Now thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle. Proverbs. A righteous man regardeth the life of his beast, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. Genesis. And it came to pass, before he had done speaking, that behold, Rebekah came out, with her pitcher upon her shoulder. And she said, Drink, my lord. And she hasted, and let down her pitcher upon her hand, and gave him drink. And when she had done giving him drink, she said, I will draw water for thy camels also, until they have done drinking. And she hasted, and emptied her pitcher into the trough, and ran again unto the well to draw water, and drew for all his camels. Isaiah. And on all hills that shall be digged with the mattock, there shall not come thither the fear of briars and thorns, but it shall be for the sending forth of oxen, and for the treading of lesser cattle. Matthew. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a farthing? And one of them shall not fall on the ground without your Father. But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear ye not, therefore. Ye are of more value than many sparrows. 1 Kings. And Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, As the Lord God of Israel liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word. And the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, Get thee hence, and turn thee eastward, and hide thyself by the brook Cherith, which is before Jordan. And it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there. So he went and did according to the word of the Lord, for he went and dwelt by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan. And the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening, and he drank of the brook. Proverbs. There be 4 things which are little upon the earth, but they are exceeding wise. The ants are a people not strong, yet they prepare their meat in the summer. The cronies are but a feeble folk, yet make their houses in the rocks. The locusts have no king, yet they go forth all of them by bands. The spider taketh hold with her hands, and is in kings' palaces. There be 3 things which go well, yea, 4 are comely in going. A lion which is strongest among beasts, and turneth not away for any. A greyhound, and he-goat also, and a king against whom there is no rising up. Proverbs. Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways, and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest. Matthew. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents, and harmless as doves. Numbers. And Balaam answered and said unto the servants of Balak, If Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the word of the Lord my God, to do less or more. And God came unto Balaam at night and said unto him, If the men come to call thee, rise up and go with them. But yet the word which I shall say unto thee, that shalt thou do. And Balaam rose up in the morning and saddled his ass and went with the princes of Moab. And God's anger was kindled because he went. And the angel of the Lord stood in the way for an adversary against him. And the ass saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. And the ass turned aside out of the way and went into the field. And Balaam smote the ass to turn her into the way. But the angel of the Lord stood in the path of the vineyards, a wall being on this side and a wall on that side. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she thrust herself into the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, and he smote her. And the angel of the Lord went further and stood in a narrow place, and there was no way to turn, either to the right hand or to the left. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she fell down under Balaam. And Balaam's anger was kindled, and he smote the ass with a staff. And the Lord opened the mouth of the ass, and she said unto Balaam, What have I done unto thee, that thou hast smitten me these 3 times? And Balaam said, Because thou hast mocked me. I would there were a sword in mine hand, for now I would kill thee. And the ass said unto Balaam, Am I not thine ass, upon which thou hast ridden ever since I was thine, unto this day? Was I ever wont to do so unto thee? And he said, Nay. Then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. And he bowed down his head and fell flat on his face. And the angel of the Lord said unto him, Wherefore hast thou smitten thine ass these 3 times? Behold, I went out to withstand thee, because thy way is perverse before me. And the ass saw me, and turned from me these 3 times. Unless she had turned away from me, surely now I would have slain thee, and saved her alive. And Balaam said unto the angel of the Lord, I have sinned. John. Then Jesus, 6 days before the Passover, came to Bethany. On the next day, much people were come to the feast when they heard that Jesus was coming to Jerusalem, took branches and palm trees, and went forth to meet him, and cried, Hosanna! Blessed is the King of Israel that cometh in the name of the Lord. And Jesus, when he had found a young ass, sat thereon, as it is written, Fear not, daughter of Zion. Behold, thy King cometh, sitting on an ass's colt. Matthew. And when they were come to Capernaum, they that received tribute money came to Peter and said, Doth not your master pay tribute? He said, Yes. And when he was come into the house, Jesus prevented him, saying, What thinkest thou, Simon? Of whom do the kings of the earth take custom or tribute? Of their own children, or of strangers? Peter said unto him, Of strangers. Jesus said unto him, Then are the children free. Notwithstanding, lest we should offend them, go thou to the sea, and cast an hook, and take up the fish that first cometh up. And when thou hast opened his mouth, thou shalt find a piece of money. That take, and give unto them for me and thee. Isaiah. As birds flying, so will the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also, he will deliver it, and passing over, he will preserve it. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of fear of the Lord. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. And the cow and the bear shall feed, their young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. And the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice's den. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. And from the Science and Health. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. The infinite has no beginning. This word beginning is employed to signify the only, that is, the eternal verity and unity of God and man, including the universe. The creative principle, life, truth, and love, is God. The universe reflects God. There is but one creator and one creation. This creation consists of the unfolding of spiritual ideas and their identities, which are embraced in the infinite mind and forever reflected. Animals and mortals metaphorically present the gradation of mortal thought, rising in the scale of intelligence, taking form in masculine, feminine, or neuter gender. The fowls which fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven correspond to aspirations soaring beyond and above corporeality, to the understanding of the incorporeal and divine principle, love. Genesis 1:21. And God created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. Spirit is symbolized by strength, presence, and power, and also by holy thoughts winged with love. These angels of his presence, which have the holiest charge, abound in the spiritual atmosphere of mind and consequently reproduce their own characteristics. Their individual forms we know not, but we do know that their natures are allied to God's nature. And spiritual blessings, thus typified, are the externalized yet subjective states of faith and spiritual understanding. Spirit blesses the multiplication of its own pure and perfect ideas. From the infinite elements of the one mind emanate all form, color, quality, and quantity, and these are mental, both primarily and secondarily. Genesis 1:24. And God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and beast of the earth after his kind. And it was so. Spirit diversifies, classifies, and individualizes all thoughts, which are as eternal as the mind conceiving them. But the intelligence, existence, and continuity of all individuality remain in God, who is the divinely creative principle thereof. Genesis 1:25. And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. God creates all forms of reality. His thoughts are spiritual realities. God gives the lesser idea of himself for a link to the greater, and in return, the higher always protects the lower. The nature of Christianity is peaceful and blessed. But in order to enter into the kingdom, The anchor of hope must be cast beyond the veil of matter into the Shekinah, into which Jesus has passed before us. And this advance beyond matter must come through the joys and triumphs of the righteous, as well as through their sorrows and afflictions. Like our Master, we must depart from material sense into the spiritual sense of being. The divine love which made harmless the poisonous viper, which delivered men from the boiling oil, from the fiery furnace, from the jaws of the lion, can heal the sick in every age and triumph over sin and death. It crowned the demonstrations of Jesus with unsurpassed power and love. Mind, joyous in strength, dwells in the realm of mind. Mind's infinite ideas run and disport themselves. In humility, they climb the heights of holiness. Moral courage is the lion of the tribe of Judah, the king of the mental realm. Free and fearless, it roams in the forest. Undisturbed, it lies in the open field or rests in green pastures beside the still waters. In the figurative transmission from the divine thought to the human, diligence, promptness, and perseverance are likened to the cattle upon 1,000 hills. They carry the baggage of stern resolve and keep pace with highest hope, with highest purpose. Tenderness accompanies all the might imparted by Spirit. The individuality created by God is not carnivorous, as witnessed the millennial estate pictured by Isaiah. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. Understanding the control which love held over all, Daniel felt safe in the lion's den, and Paul proved the viper to be harmless. All of God's creatures, moving in the harmony of science, are harmless, useful, indestructible. A realization of this grand verity was a source of strength to the ancient worthies. It supports Christian healing and enables its possessor to emulate the example of Jesus. And God saw that it was good. Patience is symbolized by the tireless worm creeping over lofty summits, persevering in its intent. The serpent of God's creating is neither subtle nor poisonous, but is a wise idea, charming in its adroitness. For love's ideas are subject to the mind which forms them, the power which changeth the serpent into a staff. Genesis 1:28. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Divine love blesses its own ideas and causes them to multiply, to manifest his power. Man is not made to till the soil. His birthright is dominion, not subjection. He is Lord of the belief in earth and heaven, himself subordinate alone to his Maker. This is the science of being. God is the life or intelligence which forms and preserves the individuality and identity of animals as well as of men. Fixing your gaze on the realities supernal, you will rise to the spiritual consciousness of being, even as the bird which has burst from the egg and preens its wings for a skyward flight. Let's pray for the congregation, first silently, then repeat together the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Let's sing hymn number 317. Still, still with thee when purple morning breaketh, when the bird waketh and the shadows flee, fairer than morning, lovelier than the daylight, dawns the sweet consciousness, I am with thee. Hymn number 317. This church is a branch of the Mother Church, the First Church of Christ Scientist in Boston, Massachusetts. We hold Sunday services at 11 a.m. and Wednesday testimony meetings at 7:30 p.m. We also have services in Spanish, Sundays at 1 p.m. and Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. All services are now held online and in person. We thank you for observing social distancing and for wearing a mask. We offer Sunday school classes online and in person for children and teens. These free one-hour classes will be held each Sunday. At Sunday school, students learn how much God loves them and cares for them. They also learn about the Bible characters and lessons, as well as the healing power of truth. If you know of children and teens who may be interested, please send us an email, thirdchurch@thirdchurchnyc.com. Third Church maintains a reading room on the first floor of this building. The reading room provides a quiet place for prayer and study, and all are welcome. Here you may purchase books and recordings on Christian Science. The reading room has the latest issues of the Christian Science Monitor, an award-winning international news weekly, available to read or purchase. Reading room hours are Monday through Friday from 1 to 4 p.m. Third Church's Easter Talk by Dr. Barry Huff, titled Resilient Faith and God's Embrace During Crisis, can now be replayed on our website at thirdchurchnyc.com. Christian Science is practical and it heals. Our meeting is now open for all to share experiences of healing and spiritual insights that prove God's ever-presence and power in their lives. If you're listening by telephone and would like to share, press *6 and wait until your line is unmuted. If you're watching by Zoom, you can choose the raise your hand icon or unmute yourself and speak.
Thank you for your readings on the harmony of God's universe, the harmony that is evident when each idea is obedient to God's purpose for it. And that principle creates harmony. I worked with a practitioner for years, and she always said that her theme song was harmony. Harmony is health, she would say. This week's lesson talks a lot about righteousness and discord, and the fact that there is no discord in spiritual reality, in what God is knowing and doing. And I had occasion this week to work with these thoughts in, once again, a very modest way, but the construction in our building to install new gas lines has been quite arduous, more arduous for others than for me. And I was just working to know that all the work that needs to be done can be done efficiently, intelligently, kindly, harmoniously. And on 2 days this week, men entered my apartment to do this work, which I'm grateful to say was done quickly, I assume done well. And the one man that was assigned to me was more than kind, more than helpful in helping me move a very heavy piece of furniture, which I can move on my own, but it's better to have another person, and to take down a few things that were in the way of the kitchen and return them with precision and kindness. And I was very grateful for this. Living in a city like New York, one has ample opportunity to pray, to see harmony, and sometimes we even do. But I was thinking this afternoon after that work was done that that harmony is, of course, the government of God. But I had to take that up another step, because it's very easy to say everything went very well, I was very happy, and then still stay in the dream about that, as if Christian Science was discovered and founded simply to make our human lives easier. That is the byproduct in many cases, but that's not the purpose of Christian Science. And I thought, well, you know, this is a link, and you spoke about links in your readings, to divine principle. And this is divine principle coinciding with human belief that believes in the variableness of harmony and right functioning. And while I'm grateful for the byproduct of that, what I was working with was to know that divine science is uninterrupted in its harmonious unfolding, no matter what seems to be the human need. God doesn't know anything about human needs, but he does know that his creation is ever his own likeness and his own self-awareness of his perfection. So I was grateful for all the levels of this modest demonstration. Thank you.
I'd like to share a healing of a family dog. Our family's always had dogs and pets, all different kinds of pets, and they've always fascinated me, their qualities, how they interact with people, their spiritual nature. And I think about animals a lot like that. But this happened when I was a teenager, and it's been kind of a landmark healing for me since then, and taught me about animals. We had a Dalmatian, lively dog, and it fell sick. And for 3 days, it just lay right in the doorway between the kitchen and dining room and didn't move. It was alive, but it wasn't moving or eating or anything. And on the 3rd day, I stepped over it to go from the kitchen to the dining room, and the look in its eyes that it gave me as I stepped over it was, I read it as, would you please read me the lesson? And most of you listening know that the lesson is a Bible sermon put out weekly that Christian Scientists study during the week, and it's on different topics. So I looked at the dog and I said, sure, I can do that. And I went to my room and I brought back the Science and Health and Bible that were marked for that week's lesson. And I sat down next to the dog and put my hand on its shoulder as it lay there and started reading the lesson to it. And after I'd read about 1 or 2 sections of the lesson, the dog started scratching its leg with its other leg. And I looked at it and I said, are you paying any attention? Here I am trying to heal you, and you're scratching. And then it dawned on me, the dog hadn't moved in 3 days, and it was now doing something normal that dogs do. And I thought, okay, am I paying any attention? So I continued reading, and a couple more sections, the dog sat up and started licking its shoulder. And I looked at it and I said, I'm not done reading the lesson. You're supposed to pay attention. And then, of course, it dawned on me again. This is the first time the dog had sat up in 3 days. So I said, okay, you just do what you want. I'm going to continue reading. And I did. And by the 4th or 5th section of the lesson, the dog jumped up and ran to the trash can in the kitchen and started digging through for scraps of food. And I looked at it with the same thought until I realized the dog hadn't eaten in 3 days. So it had food out, it had plenty of water and food, and then it started to eat its food, and I let it outside after that. And it ran around like it usually ran around. And I always wonder, how is it that the dog was healed so quickly? And how is it that he communicated through his eyes that he needed some help, and what kind of help he needed, and what was the connection that we had that I understood that or interpreted it in my own way? But first, let me just say how grateful I was, and the whole family, all my brothers and mom and dad, were for the healing of the dog. And it's so simple. And I started to think, well, dogs, when they get sick, aren't afraid like people. They don't try and analyze what may have caused it. They don't worry that it might get worse. They just are sick. And so the dog didn't have that to overcome when I started to pray with it. The other thing is, dogs and little children, they say, often reflect what's going on in the household. So if there's some sort of inharmony in the household, it may be reflected in a dog that's not feeling well. And I've thought about that a lot when to keep things harmonious, like the previous testifier said, in the home when there are animals or little children, and specifically, or if they have a problem, just work from that standpoint in healing the situation to free them. So whenever I see a pet or an animal, I see into its eyes. I see into some of the things they've taught me about harmony, about love, about loyalty, about what animals teach us. And I'm just so grateful to have had this opportunity to know that the truth through Christian Science does heal, and it's for all of us, for all animals, people, the earth.
Thank you for your readings from the dead. I wanted to express gratitude for the talk that we had at the church, or that was sponsored by the church last Friday. It was novel. It was very scholarly. And of course, it was given by a professor of religious studies. So, but it was references to many thoughtful people about the meaning and the continuity of the Bible, and very much a focus on faith and being at one with God, and perseverance, and the nature of God, and being a God for the oppressed and for the downtrodden, and a supporter, a giver of strength. There was a recent PBS program on the Black church, and it was talking about the Christianity in times going back as far as the slavery period in the United States, and how the members of the church clung to and appreciated that sense of being the children of God, and that God supported and strengthened them and was not an oppressor. And this great strength in times of crisis caused the church to grow. There's certainly people finding support and strength in the Bible and the teachings of the Bible over the centuries. It's a well-studied, well-documented book. And I'm very grateful for the insights that were shared, and for that example of scholarship and opening thought to resources with which to enrich our understanding of the Bible.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for your prayers and your remarks. Let's conclude by singing hymn number 384. When God is seen with men to dwell, and all creation makes anew, what tongues can half the wonders tell? What eye the dazzling glories view? Hymn number 384.